Check that you have all of your patterns. Front, back, collar, back facing, back skirt, front skirt, pocket. On the back panel, sew up the dots. On the front panels, sew up the dots. This is the center back. Mark out all the notches on the back skirt. Fold up each pleat by matching up the notches. And pin it down to secure. Repeat this for the other pleats. For the pleat at the center back, pin where the second closest notch is. Once you're done, you should have 4.5 pleats on each side. Repeat for the other side. Sew each pleat down vertically by 3 centimeters. Flip all pleats towards the center back while opening up the center pleat into a box pleat. Iron well. Then baste along the top to secure the pleats. Measure and mark 6 centimeters down from the top. Align the pockets to the markings. And sew along the side seam with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Be careful not to sew onto the pleats. Sew the back and back skirt panels together along the waist with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Make sure the center backs align up. Overlock the seam. On the front skirt, mark out the notches. Fold and pin each pleat to secure. Then sew each pleat vertically down 3 centimeters. Flip all the pleats towards the center front, then baste along the top to secure the pleats. Using the skirt paper template, transfer the markings onto the fabric. Then baste along the sewing line. Grab a pair of scissors and trim along the outer line to remove the excess fabric. Sew the front and front skirt panels together along the curved lines with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once you're done, check that the curved seam is smooth with no folds of puckering. Make corrections if necessary. Push all seam allowances up and iron well. Measure and mark 5 centimeters down from the waist seam. Align the pockets to the marking. And sew along the side seam with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Be careful not to sew onto the pleats. Flip open the pocket and understitch on the pocket panel. Sew the front and back panels together along the shoulder with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Sew the collar panels together along the outer edge with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Grab a pair of scissors and snip into the seam allowances to reduce the tension and the bulk. Turn it inside out. Iron well. Then top stitch along the outer edge. Mark out the center back and sewing line along the neckline. With the interfaced collar facing up, align the center back of the collar and the top. Sew them together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, making sure the sewing lines on the collar and the neckline matches up. Repeat for the other side. Once it's completed, check that from the right side, the seam is smooth with no folds or puckering. Make corrections if necessary. On the front, mark out the collar notch. Make a snip on the front panel exactly where the stitches stop. This allows you to pivot the front panel and align it up to the collar. Sew the panels together with a 1 cm seam allowance. Repeat for the other side. Once you're done, check that from the right side, the corner has no folds or puckering. Sew the remaining front and back facing panels together along the shoulder with a 1 cm seam allowance. Align the front panels and the back facing panels together. With the collar tucked in, sew the panels along the neckline and center front with a 1 cm seam allowance. After sewing, check that from both the right and wrong side of the fabric, the seams are smooth with no folds or puckering. Snip into the seam allowances to reduce the tension and bulk. Align the front and back panels along the armhole and sew them together with a 1 cm seam allowance. Grab a pair of scissors and snip into the seam allowances to reduce the tension and bulk. To turn the garment inside out, fold the hem of the front so that it becomes narrower than the shoulder width. Tuck the folded part in between both front panels and guide it towards the back through the shoulder. From the back, reach for the folded fabric and gently pull all the fabric through. Looks great. Repeat for the other side. Fold up the front hem to make it narrower than the shoulder width. Tuck it in between both front panels. then gently pull from the back. Iron well. To sew up the side seams, flip up the inner panels and facing panels. Align up the seams and then sew them together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Repeat for the other side. Flip the inner panel and sew both front panels together with a 5 centimeter seam allowance. Grab a pair of scissors and trim away the seam allowances to reduce the bulk. Turn it inside out and repeat for the other side. Fold up the skirt hem by 5 centimeters and iron well. Then top stitch 4 centimeters from the folded edge. To seal up the inner front panel, sew in the ditch from the right side along the curved seam. Making sure to catch onto the panel below. Sewing all the way down to the hem. With an unpicker, unpick all the basting stitches along the pleated front skirt. Top stitch along the outer edges of the front, from the collar all the way down to the hem. Top stitch along the armhole. And there you have it. Your dress is completed.